And we are live. This is the Council of Google Plus. We are now in session. I'm John Wilkinson, broadcasting from FEMA Region 10, Washington State. Go ahead and announce yourself, guys.
I am Vincent Lawson, coming to you from FEMA Region 4.
I'm Calvinus Klein from FEMA Region 3.
I'm Brian Forbes from FEMA Region 7.
I'm Andrew Rappaport from FEMA Region DC, stuck in the cabin.
Fail.
So you're going to be the first to be eaten in the zombie apocalypse.
Yeah.
We also have Marcus in here too, but say hi, Marcus, if you want to, if you can.
Hi, I'm from Canada, a communist nation, north of the US.
He's out of luck if it's zombie.
That's sad.
He's out of luck. Anyway, so we in our with the Slick Answers show, we were talking about the Zeitgeist movie and Jesus mythicism, so to speak. So we were talking to CK here, and he said that you, Andrew, and him met some of these guys when y'all were street preaching. Can y'all give us a little detail how that went?
Do you remember that, Andrew? I specifically remember that from Jersey Fire.
I'll let you tell it because I have run into this group of this element of thinking so many times, whether it be in Jersey or in New York, that I can't count the times. So go for it.
Okay. Well, it wasn't anything extravagant, but it was just there was a guy who was basically saying, Jesus and the entire the gospel narratives were based on other deities, and Christianity is a religion that borrows from others, and he was just rattling it off, and then I look at Andrew and I'm like, that's from Zeitgeist. that's been refuted for however long the movie's been out, and like it just was amazing that he brought this up, but and it also relates. I'll make a quick comment on this. And probably move a little bit away from this unless people want to talk about this more. But it's kind of, and the guy said he grew up in a church and his father was, I think he said his father was a pastor or something like that. But one thing I was talking about tonight at the small group that I was at was just that in the modern day church, I feel like that the church is largely sick right now with in areas of discernment and value judgment, and that's only amplified in the American Black church, from my experience, is that there's a fundamental there's just a lack of discernment and a lack of ability to place value on things, and it really kind of came out there when he said that, because this guy was, I'm assuming he was from, well, he was African American himself, and I'm assuming his church was an African American church, just from my just from what it seemed to situation seemed to be like and what he was telling us. But it's just amazing that people take this and run with it and don't go to the scholarly sources and don't actually vet this stuff, because it's not, and they can't. That
would take work.
Yeah. No, exactly right.
That mean they would actually have to read something and not just regurgitate a meme.
Right.
I see this a lot, and it's really sad that one of the things that I always want to push at my church, my local church, is the apologetics, and explain to the folks in my church. It's one thing to know what you believe in, but you have to know why, and you have to know how did it come about, and you got to dig in deeper. You got to start digging in to understand and build a foundation of your faith. And because sadly, these so many Christians, they see this movie and they fall for it. They absolutely fall for it. Wasn't there recently, I think about maybe like a year ago or so, some Christian rapper or something saw this Zeitgeist movie and left the faith? I mean, he was just he decided to go ahead and not become a Christian anymore. I can't remember what his name was, but I remember something about that.
Yeah, I don't know. I hadn't heard about that.
I don't know if that's
saying it's not true. Go ahead.
I don't know if that's the same one that I'm thinking about, but I do remember a Christian rapper leaving the faith last year. You said it was, John?
Yeah, it's about a year ago.
Yeah, I remember that, and I think Dr. White covered that on the Dividing Line, and he talked about yeah. I remember that guy. Yeah, and I didn't know it was from Zeitgeist though. I thought it was something.
Yeah,
I thought it was something else.
He claimed that he saw the movie Zeitgeist, and that's what changed his faith. He just basically didn't want to believe Christianity anymore.
You know, if that movie convinced somebody to leave the faith, I mean, you're right, John, in that it's terrible, and you know, a lot of it has to do with your apologetic, but some of this is just like people sharing it, and you know, is just confirmation bias, and we see it from both sides. You know, I don't know how many silly memes and stuff, and you know, even like the satirical stuff that people share, and they're like, oh look, you know, it's like that's from The Onion, or that's from Babylon Bee, or whatever. I mean, it's like, you know, people believe it because they want to believe it.
And keep in mind, this only works, as you guys were pointing out, in English. I mean, you guys brought up how the Hebrew words for son. I mean, and this is the thing, like right away, if you put this into some other language, for instance, Japanese, the word for sun, S-U-N, you know, referring to the big ball of gas that's burning in the sky, that's taiyo in Japanese. Sun, as in S-O-N, in Japanese is musuko. How do those sound alike at all? I mean, if you put it in Japanese and try to play it in front of people, they're like, wait, so you're saying that taiyo is musuko? What? You know, it's like,
well, they rhyme. They rhyme.
Confirmation bias is what it was called. Is they're looking for.
Well, yeah, I understand. I understand that, but
as long as they can confirm their bias, they're going to do it.
And I said this in the chat, the YouTube chat. I said, you know, well, if the KJV was good enough for Paul, then it's good enough for me.
Yeah. But no, I mean, I'd love to see, you know, Zeitgeist translated into other languages and just see the first section of the film and watch the like native speakers of the language laugh. You know, it's like that. It's like, wait, you just said two completely different words.
I mean, and it's absolutely, you're right. When you go to the original languages, it's ridiculous.
Well, I'm not even saying the original languages. I'm talking about just a different language other than English.
I mean, I get what you're saying, but it's complete. You're right. It's completely based on English. Go ahead, Andy,
different words. She or shemesh, which is the word for the sun, the ball in the sky, and bar. Do they sound anything alike?
Yes.
Well, I mean, with that, you could even go with Greek. You know, because when Jesus was around, you know, they're starting to. They came up with it when it was Greek, right? Well, sun, S-U-N, in Greek is helios. Sun in Greek is huios. I mean, they rhyme, I guess, but they do not sound similar like sun.
It'd be interesting to look at the Aramaic too.
Well, that too, yeah.
This is the whole thing, is that, you know, I don't know if you guys are aware, but when this movie came out, or this film, there were actually people that what they were doing was had bumper stickers for the YouTube channel, and there were places, I mean, it was covered in areas where they would just put this everywhere, and that's how they got 3 million views. But when you actually start to look at this, it's comical, because this is, you know, just basic critical thinking reveals that there's some real problems that they have in this movie, and they want it to sound like it's scholarly, and same with the book that this is based off of. And when you actually look at it, it's like, you guys really want to be taken serious? I mean, there's no reason we should take this serious. And yet, I don't know, as Calvinist Klein was saying, I don't know how many times this comes up. I just came back from Cleveland, and we were out there, and someone was arguing for that the Jesus I was proclaiming was no different than Horus. And I just looked at him and said, so you watched, the Zeitgeist movie? And he says, yeah. I'm like, and you believe it, even though it's been debunked. And that's what actually caused me to come out and say, I'm going to watch this and look at this. And when I watched it, I would laugh. I was like, this is what so many people are believing. It's laughable because it's so easy to debunk.
Well, yeah, but keep in mind that I mean, this is so often the case that people are looking to reject what they want to reject and accept what they already accept. So it's very easy for them to look at this and go, "Hey, cool! There's another reason for me to reject what I want to reject." So they'll just take it in, like they're eating their favorite food. It's like, woohoo, this is great.
Once you know about the answer, you're willing to accept anything.
Well, and that's why I mentioned the two things, right? Confirmation bias, which affects the guys who are initially doing the research. They're only accepting things that will support their conclusion. And then motivational reasoning, which is that they have an emotional attachment to a conclusion, and because of that, they end up changing their thinking to agree, regardless of facts, to what they emotionally feel is true. Those are two things in play here. One for the followers.
I thought it was crazy to watch this because I've never seen this movie, but like to sit there and see this guy be like, oh yeah, Joseph had 12 brothers. I'm like, wait, what? I know Andrew, you pointed that out, but I'm just like, wait, what? And somebody's drinking the 12 Kool-Aid a little too much, right?
And let us also
that's Bible 101.
Yeah, but let us also not forget that what the Bible says about those who are perishing. Those who are still enslaved to their sin. So I mean, we can bring up words like confirmation bias and whatnot, but also keep that in mind. I mean, they need the gospel.
Oh, it's suppression. It's complete suppression of the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And they need the gospel. You're right.
I wanted to point out this meme that I had on my Google Plus page for a number of months now, and it's where a Christian is talking to an atheist, and the Christian goes, "What proof do you need to believe in Jesus?" And the atheist goes, 6,000 primary sources, birth records, and video evidence. Christian says, "What proof do you need to believe in Jesus was stolen from Horus and Mithras?" Atheist, one dank meme. That's it. It's all it takes. And it's so true. I mean, that's exactly how it is nowadays, where, as long as you have a clever meme to present absolute false lies, I mean just absolute complete lies, they'll believe it because like you said, Andrew, it's confirmation bias. I mean, they want to believe that Jesus was not real.
Well, and what's the mantra? You repeat a lie enough times, it becomes the truth.
Yeah, and one thing I also do want to mention and point out is that this type of thinking, unfortunately, is not something that we can only point outward at. There are people on the inside, and this may actually go back to what you guys were talking about before, or whatever. Looking into things and actually having a good base is something that, unfortunately, I find lacking more often than not when I go to church. When I talk to other people, when I'll start talking about something that's a little bit more obscure in the Bible, and I go, hey, if someone were to ask you about wearing mixed fabrics, what would you say to them or something? And they have no idea what I'm talking about. It's like, well, have you actually looked into what you believe in completely? So again, I think that I think often enough, I really just want to make sure that we're not only pointing the finger outward. We're also going, hey, we need to also not do this type of stuff ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I totally agree. And again, I don't know how many times I've seen articles from The Onion or any of the satire sites. Not just the silly ones, but the ones that actually do a really good job. There's one that the Army runs, and I can't remember, I think it's like the Duffel blog or something like that. And
the heck is that noise?
Oh, sorry, I'm visiting his house.
Yeah.
That was great that we had Vincent's. That was a great one with Vincent, kid.
And it gets shared, and it's like,
Brian.
guys, this doesn't sound right. And then people share it because they want to believe it's true.
Brian, can you hear us? Hello?
Yeah, I don't know if he can hear you or not.
I don't think he can. He just kind of goes on and on.
No, he heard me. Or maybe he can? I don't know.
Brian.
What's that?
Can you hear us?
I can hear you now. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened. Like I just lost audio for a second.
Yeah, we're trying to talk to you, and you keep going and going and going, and you keep interfering with our.
Look, John's just upset because he was being ignored as usual.
Oh yeah, pretty much.
Oh, sorry.
All right. So what was your? Since I was out of it,
I don't remember now. Thanks.
Okay.
You killed the show.
I killed it. All right, I'm done. I did my job.
Oh, I think you were commenting on me being over at his house or something.
Yeah, that's because we heard kids in the background.
That was cats.
It's cats in the background.
Sounds the same.
Yeah, my kids are mostly asleep.
You can't tell the difference between cats and kids. Oh man, are you?
I'll tell you.
Guys now.
We used to have cats in heat that would be outside our house in the woods.
Now this is a kid's show.
Yeah, cats in heat sound like crying babies.
They can.
It's like when I first moved in that house. I mean, the first time I heard it, I'm like, someone left a baby in the woods. I like actually at like 11 o'clock at night was out there with a flashlight looking for a child.
That's hilarious.
And finally I saw a cat. I'm like, oh, okay.
You thought somebody actually left a baby out there.
Hey man, it's Jersey.
Yeah,
well, that's true.
Anything happens somewhere in Jersey. Yeah.
Oh,
I know. Just Andrew, you were making a point earlier that the last show, we got a taste of what happens in the Vincent's Vincent Lasson's home. That's what happens. Oh, it was so funny.
That's where it started. But look, seriously, talking about this movie, it's amazing that people take the book that's based off of and the movie serious. And as Christians, I mean, we're kind of maybe joking and laughing about it to some extent, but really it's heartbreaking and sad that there's people that could be so blinded that they don't do any basic study. I mean, how much effort does it take to realize that this guy is equivocating on an English word that wouldn't have been invented for 1,200 or 1,300 years from the event that they're arguing for? I mean, S-U-N and S-O-N.
Or earlier, if you're actually talking about like Egyptian cultures and whatnot.
Exactly.
I find the whole December 25th thing just hilarious.
That's
so funny.
I mean, when I finally said, I'm going to watch this movie. I wanted to see what they were saying. Let me go watch this movie. And when I watched it, I literally watched this and said, there's got to be more to this. There's got to be something, because this is such a joke.
Well, and here's the thing. I think some of his what I'll loosely call, you can't see me doing air quotes, but what I'll call research.
Well, you could turn your camera on so we could see the air quote.
I don't have a camera.
Pause.
But, my pause.
It's hard to tell with pause.
Yeah, there we go. Well, I've got nails. I've got the claws.
But see the camera. Come on.
No, I literally don't have a camera on my computer. But what I think some of his quote unquote research is was like Christmas songs. We Three Kings, or it's not even really. Yeah, I guess We Three Kings. It's like no, it's not We Three Kings of Orient are. It's like well, like that's a nice Christmas song, but
Light of the World is a kid's song that I've heard sung.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I'm thinking. Some of his research was just songs.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. So, like I said, I think that's why I think some of his quote unquote research was just like Christian songs that he had heard at some point in time, or something.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably a good reason why he did this. and used a fake name because he didn't want anyone in the real world to know he's behind it. This movie.
Possibly. I mean, I try. I mean, me personally, I don't know. Maybe I give people too much benefit of the doubt, but I understand that when there are atheists or agnostics or whomever who want to keep their, I'm not even sure exactly. I don't want to offend them by saying their beliefs, because atheists will say it's not a belief, it's a lack of. But but I understand, them maybe wanting to keep that from people so that they don't get evangelized on every corner or every 30 seconds. But even so, I still think there's something for something to what you're saying there, Andrew.
Yeah, it's hard. In all seriousness, it's hard to take a movie like that serious, and yet it's sad because so many people do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you want to laugh at it, and he starts off this movie with a comedian that I cut out only because of the foul language, and then accidentally
played it again. Whoops.
Click that.
Yeah.
But it's George Carlton, and it's like it's almost comical because here it literally is a joke. It literally is him introducing his program, his movie, with something that really it ends up revealing the guy's a complete joke in this of what he did. And I'm not trying to be insulting in that. I'm trying to say that here this guy wants to do this serious work, and yet the work he ends up doing doesn't even pass the basic work that you would do to do research. And the fact that there's Christians who are like worried about this movie and like fearful of the content, there's no reason a Christian should worry about that. If this is what the atheists have, the best of what they got nothing.
Well, and one thing I'll say is that I think that that's an issue with more things than just a movie like this. And I think that I think it's very important to realize and understand that the gospel is stronger, our God is stronger than anything. If you are saved, there's nothing that can separate me from, can take me out of my Savior's hand. Nothing. So why should I be scared to look into anything? Why should I be scared to look into what atheists are saying? Why should I be scared to look into what Islam is about? Why should I be scared to look into, some cult? That shouldn't matter. I mean, honestly, when you really take it down to the bare bones and go, okay, well, if God is with me, who can be against me?
You just look at the how the movie was going towards the whole political conspiracy kind of theme, it seemed. And I haven't watched the rest of the movie, so I couldn't tell you where it goes, where it leads to. But Andrew, didn't you say eventually goes into the whole 9/11 conspiracy thing, or is it?
Section 2 is all about the 9/11 conspiracy. Section 3 is about how the Reserve Bank runs the world. And it's just, I mean, you have to laugh. The guy is into such conspiracies, and what he's trying to prove is how easily people are duped into believing religion, 9/11, and that they have some control in their life, and it's not the bank actually running things.
Okay. So with that in mind, I mean, I just think that it's ridiculous to think that it is like some kind of political conspiracy, because you look at what happened with the disciples. I mean, if it really was a lie, if it was based on a lie, a complete made up conspiracy, whatever, political gain or whatever it may be, why in the world would all the disciples, except for one, John the disciple, was killed for it? Why did they?
And John was tortured for it too.
John was tortured for it. I mean, Peter was hung upside down. I can't remember which one. I think it was Matthew or someone else was dipped in hot wax and
John was
set on fire.
Yeah, John was boiled in oil.
Yeah, boiled in oil. I believe someone else was cut lengthways. I mean, not just across the waist, but literally from up and down.
Yeah.
Okay, basically, it was cut in half
from
in that
from
way.
zipper to head.
Yeah. So I mean, there was this.
Call him a zipper head?
Well, you see, but there's such an easy way to reject all that. They were all just nuts. I mean, they were all like, you know, Bronze Age goat herders who were like so misled, and they were just insane. You know, I mean, that's all it was.
How do you reconcile those two theories, like Bronze Age goat herders that are so stupid with state imposed religion?
Well, first of all, I would say for them to say that they're just a bunch of unlearned goat herders,
well,
that's anti-Semitism right there. To say that the nation of Israel were a bunch of idiots.
But no, let's look at this. They're a bunch of Bronze Age goat herders that knew more about the stars than we do. I mean, they knew all they understood the ages of Aquarius and all these other.
Right.
I mean, which is it? Are they complete idiots, or do they know so much that it took us this long to figure out what they already knew? Which one?
And they could read and write. You know.
Well, that's what that whole thing where it took 21,000 years to go through the cycle. Where are the records that they passed this down from generation to generation just to keep track of it? How did they come up with that? You know, they have
pictures. Didn't you see those hieroglyphics that he was showing? They have pictures of it.
Picture books, okay.
Yeah. Joseph Smith also had hieroglyphics.
Yeah, but no one's actually seen that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and when did Christianity become a state? Like, was that the whole Constantine thing? That Constantine made Christianity a state religion, and it's not. You know,
I think that was, I believe that was the turning point where they were saying that once Constantine made Christianity the nation's religion.
Well, I might be remembering incorrectly, but I think that happened a little bit later. I think Constantine only made it so that Christianity was no longer a religio illicita, I think, or something like that.
Well, wasn't that was I thought that was 313 AD. I could be wrong.
Yeah,
I thought it was Peace of the Church.
Because then Nicaea was in 325, right?
Yeah, Nicaea is 325, and then.
So are there any atheists out there that disagree with the conclusions that were made in a 2-hour depiction? They're not willing to come in here and challenge?
Did we put the link on the YouTube chat, John? Maybe it needs to be.
Maybe they don't know, but
we can risk being sniped, I suppose.
No, I didn't put the link on there. But I can go ahead and just put it on.
I mean, is there? I mean, we can get some of the.
Where's Han? Han wanted.
Yeah, Han did want to come in. Can we get him the link?
I would be curious to see what he loves to talk about ancient Near East.
Should I just give him the link, or
Tyler just sent me Tyler just sent me 2 documents, and he's like, he said that. Zeitgeist is literally the worst movie ever made. He sent me a document on a class that he taught about it.
It would have been good.
A PDF from somebody else.
I would have liked to have Tyler in there. It would have been good to have Tyler in. It would have been, I was afraid with Han that we'd get so distracted with him talking about things that we would never get through it. But because I did want to try to get through that entire 30-minute segment, and so that they can't tell us that we're taking it out of context, that we're, because there's some that actually believe this movie is like legit. And even in the comments that I was seeing while we were going through it, people were commenting how ignorant I am. And it's like, really, like you can't figure out the difference between the word SON and SUN. You can't figure that one out.
And yeah, you know, it's. I think you're so ignorant about, you know, about the Jews, right? You know, it's not like you can trace your lineage back to the tribe of Levi or anything. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Wait.
I think I remember standing up at 12 years old and having to stand before a congregation in my synagogue and all my peers from school that were invited, and having to teach on the burnt offerings, a great text out of Leviticus to have to be your first sermon. Yeah, but yeah. I mean, it's funny because I mean, how much, seriously, if you look at some of what we went through, and I really, there was some stuff that we looked up and wanted to give answers to, but I really wanted to show how basic it is to dispute that movie. You don't even need to understand anything about any of the Egyptian goddesses and gods and mythology to know this. I mean, it's that basic.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
I mean, the moment they even made
go
a
ahead.
claim,
Yeah.
there he goes again. The moment he made the claim that Christians believe that Jesus was born on December 25th, that was it. That's all I needed to see. It's like, okay, you're an idiot. You don't know what you're talking about.
But how much? I mean, when we look through it, how much December 25th? That is like a major thing that he focused on. The two things that were the major focus of that movie was December 25th and the equivocation of the word son. Yep. You know, it's like those two are the huge thing. And they're so easy to debunk. And you see it throughout. It's like I felt like I was being a broken record repeating it, but I wanted to repeat it for every time that they said it.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. I don't
know if you caught it too. They said the opposite was Easter is on the not the other, not the winter solstice, but the spring one or whatever. Well, Easter moves all around. I don't think the solstice moves all around. They do it in real fast. They try to equivocate it that Easter was the opposite end of it. But
Easter's based on Passover.
Yeah,
and
Passover.
Nowhere near the same
Jewish calendar.
It's nowhere near the same time every year, but they threw that in real fast because I don't know if y'all noticed that, but they were equating it like the opposite of the winter solstice that Christmas Christmas is on. They use that as the alternative for the Easter. That's why Easter is on the other side of it.
But the summer solstice is June 22nd.
Yeah. Well, that's why he was saying
where they're going with that.
He was saying the 3 days were the 3 days were the 3 days after that. So that was the death, and then 3 days was the resurrection where things start getting more light. And I mean, it's just it's really quite comical. The thing that people don't understand with the Jewish calendar is that it's based off 360 days, not 365. So it's going to be 12 30-day months, and every 7 years there's a new month added in, and that's how they adjust it. And so when you look at our calendar, it's not going to be the same time.
Nope.
So
Tyler's come in. Hey, Tyler.
Yeah, he can't say anything.
Curious.
He's quiet.
Tyler, can you talk or are you just mute tonight? Because we would love to have your. He's just listening.
Yeah.
That's all he does half the time anymore.
Darn.
No, I've got Tyler's notes in front of me, and he brought up in his notes that
where's his notes?
Tyler's good on Judaism.
Drop link to his notes. And why Tyler didn't give us his notes beforehand? I mean, what kind of guy is this? I'll tell you.
I know what just a not nice person. One thing that I noticed is
I even went out and met him. Personally.
You met him? Oh man.
Yeah. We went. I went out to California and I said, "Hey, let's get together." And he came over to the hotel room. We hung out for a while. I flew. That's right. He said I flew across the country just to meet him. It may have something to do with meeting John MacArthur, and Tyler was,
just right there. Yeah.
The nice thing is if Tyler's just going to listen, we can insult him and he can't really respond back.
I like to call Tyler the Presbyterian Steven Anderson. That's all I got to say.
You're terrible.
Compare anyone to Steven Anderson, that's an insult.
Hey, so you were talking about the Jewish calendar, and funny, when I was doing my research online about Horus, the ancient um, Egyptian god and all that. So anyway, I was looking at that, and it said the ancient Egyptians used a calendar with 12 months, 30 days each, with a total of 360 days per year. About 4000 BC, they added 5 extra days at the end of every year to bring it more into line with the solar year. These 5 days became festivals because it was thought to be unlucky to work during that time. Made a note saying the Jewish calendar also had 360 days in a year. And you look at all the here the calendar festivals during the Middle Kingdom of Egypt, and sure enough, I mean, it says here on the 5 days, the 5 extra days, day 2 was just the birthday of Horus. So it's interesting how they kind of didn't mention anything about December 25th at all. I mean, these are all the Egyptian holidays that I looked at, and basically, yeah, nothing about Horus being born on December 25th at all. So,
well, I mean, are you surprised? There was so much other stuff that's like, just completely and utterly off. But again, it's just them. It's just him wanting to find some way to make what he's saying sound better, so that other. Well, it's I don't know. I mean, the person who did this, they are. You said they're a mythicism or something like that, or are they atheist?
Well, I think we really don't know, since clearly they don't believe in Christianity. But
I know the book, the lady, I think it's the lady, I don't know who it was, who wrote the book that it's based on, is definitely believes that Jesus was a myth.
Yeah. Well, they believe Christ is a myth. The person uses synonym to, so it's hard to know whether what they really believe. So
I dropped the link to Tyler's notes.
Yeah, and I'm about to now. Let's see.
Okay. Hopefully he's not making a lot of money off of this otherwise.
Yeah, well, he makes buku bucks, that guy, So let's see. Here's his and this is the thing that's nice about Tyler, is he, documents stuff well. 6 pages on stuff. We even get a quote from Bart Ehrman. Gotta like that.
I see General Han Solo has joined as well.
Oh, good. I know, Robert, you had a bunch you wanted to join in. I'm curious on your take on stuff.
1 sec.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe we'll be able to get General Han Solo to comment on Tyler's document. That'd be, I don't know, almost like some weird Inception stuff.
He
said 1 second. A second's up. Come on.
This is what I thought was cool.
When I was a kid,
Tyler even has the Egyptian in there.
When I was a kid, my my parents were quite literal. So I asked to stay up late one night, and my dad was like, "No," and I said, "Come on, can I stay up for 1 second?" He said, "Sure," for 1 second. I was like, "Oh, good." And I took 1 step, and he goes, "Seconds up, go to bed."
Nice.
The next night,
that's terrible.
I asked for a minute.
Nice.
I wonder. Well, I'm betting Tyler won't bring up anything like I did with Japanese. I suppose part of me wanted to also bring up the somewhat similarity between sun and sun in Germany, or in German. But unfortunately, when you talk about one, you pronounce the E at the end. So, but see, I like that he brought up the Hebrew, Greek, and Egyptian.
Right. So, Han, can you?
Every one of us knows that the English can correct the Greek and the Hebrew.
Come on. That's right.
The English corrects everything else, right? I mean, that's why, like, the Americans are always looked at as arrogant arrogant jerks, you know, to the rest of the world.
I think it really is a form of ethnocentrism. I think that, like, some of the main points in that Zeitgeist movie were very.
Well, and I wanted to bring this up is that, like, he's a conspiracy guy, right? So 9/11 was an inside job, and what was the other one, that the other conspiracy that he was postulating in the
government rules everything.
Oh, with the bankers, right?
Right.
And it's really right. So it's, and then the whole point with religion is that, like, somebody's going to rule your life, right? And so it's this whole, like, other philosophy of some other person is out there to get you, and it's really permeated our culture. And if you look at, like, the whole, like, racism thing that's going on, and I don't want to dive too deep into this, but the whole, like, racism thing that's going on right now, on both sides there's an other, and on the left it's the bigots, they're the other, they're the bad guy, and for the Nazis, the other is the Jew or the black person or somebody that they perceive as ruining their life and ruining the American dream or whatever. And it's prevalent, and it's sin. I mean, but it's just plain and simple that you know, that to blame your entire, you know, problem on some other person is sin.
Well, I would hold to that, but that's someone else's problem.
Right. Okay, Andrew.
Yeah, I don't know
General
if you
Han
can
actually,
see my
yeah.
my
Go
link.
ahead. Go ahead, Han.
Yeah.
Is
Can you
Han
see my
sharing
link
the
there?
screen?
Can
Yeah,
I
I
do
pulled up. Yes, I pulled up your PDF. Andrew's still going through Tyler's.
that? Okay.
Han put a link in the side chat, Andrew.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull that up now. The one on
Okay.
East.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's technically an Easter lecture, but so there's three. There's
PDF.
the Zeitgeist is the main one, yeah. Otherwise, the alleged similarities is like
57
extensive.
pages, dude. Come on.
This is Han we're talking about. That's a small.
Yeah, well, there's
small
slides. There's slides.
presentation.
Yeah, this was abbreviated.
No, the other one's 86 pages. This is real in depth. Good deal.
Yeah, I actually go through their so-called scholarly books.
I like that so-called.
Zaria is one of those. She passed away recently.
Yeah, I mean,
Wait, who did?
yeah, this is the other book, The Pagan Christ, that everyone refers to, Tom Harper.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting that none of them have any background in history, mythology, theology, or anything that would be related to the topics that they're arguing.
Yeah. So if you go to the next slide after this one, I actually showcase atheists
Okay, this is the
debunking
problem right here. Anyone who's going to be an author with the last name of Borg, I mean, you're just going to be assimilated.
Oh, Marcus Ford.
Yeah. No, but
I think the Han brings up a good point, is that there's atheists out there that have debunked the Zeitgeist thing.
Yes. Well, I
so Maurice Casey is my favorite, one of my most recent favorite ones.
Yeah, I mean, it's a thing where atheists don't take it serious. Some do, obviously, but their own community, it's a joke. So why people are taking it serious is sometimes beyond me.
I mean, even just
and
that whole section on Joseph, anybody that's read Genesis could debunk that whole section.
Can I tell y'all why? Because both the majority of atheists and Christians out there are not very deep. So
they're biblical.
The greater majority of the battle out there, they would have no clue a lot of the stuff we're talking about.
Andrew, go down to Jesus with the lamb on his shoulders. you guys will absolutely laugh at that one.
So I mean, the reason
for our
is
Presbyterian friends, that would be a second commandment violation.
the reason is that this is believed is because of the fact that people are biblically illiterate. The guy who does this obviously doesn't know the Bible, and the people that are being convinced by this don't believe the Bible. They or don't know the Bible, and that's why they're convinced.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so they make the claim that, oh look, see, Jesus has a lamb on his shoulder, so Mithra also has it, and I'm like, yeah.
And that's
the only time you'll ever see that
depiction.
is in Han. Yeah.
I mean, that goes to what Meows was saying earlier, that it sounds like, from all of his argumentation, that it's from Christmas songs.
right, like December 25th. Look, it's like, except the Bible doesn't ever establish that.
Not only does the Bible not, history doesn't.
Yeah, history doesn't establish that.
And then the whole like the We Three Kings thing, and it's just
yeah.
If you do scroll up to, let me just
up your mind. Scroll down.
Because
why are
because
you?
I mentioned. Sorry.
He's in Australia, so up is down for him and down is up for.
Yeah, you see, a good point.
If you scroll up to slide.
Flat Earth reputation.
That's right. Han has head rushes all the time.
Slide 33.
That's all the way down now. This makes for great people watching. They're getting sick.
Oh, Andrew, do you have an evangelism, like a master PDF with all this information?
A what? Two people talking. This doesn't work.
Sorry. So go ahead, Han. Oh, I can ask after. That's it.
I was just asking, like, on the slide, what do I put as Jesus' birthday versus what the Zeigeist put?
So why do you choose? Why did you come to the conclusion of September 11th?
Because it's Rosh Hashanah, and it happens to be the day that matches the astrological symbolism that you see in Revelation 12, and it ironically and quite uncannily matches Noah's birthday according to ancient tradition.
No, what's really crazy is if you watch the second half of that movie, he really would have freaked over that. Born on 9/11. The towers came down on 9/11.
Yeah. Except that would have almost been...
The 9/11 date was first proposed in the early 90s. So if we were living in the 90s, we wouldn't have freaked out over that. But yeah.
Yeah, but see, 2 1s. Those are 2 towers. 2 towers.
That's terrible. That will happen.
And with wingdings, if you put that in, if you type 911 in wingdings, there's a plane and then 2 towers.
Wow. Wingdings? What?
Yes.
That's a font.
Microsoft is.
No, I understand that it's a font, but.
So did y'all see?
Now, if you open the other file,
I like this one goes over each one. It's got references down at the bottom too.
Oh, this is Han's other.
That's a good one. No. This is not Hans.
Oh, did you post this one, Vincent?
Yeah, it's just a picture. I'll post it now.
Well, if you open the other one I had in the folder, you'll see extensive
alleged similarities.
Yeah,
like
I see yours, Han. I saw your links. Thank you so much for that, because that's and this brings me to the question I was asking Andrew, is if Andrew, do you have a master PDF of like refutation type stuff like this? That because when people ask this type of stuff, like it's been at least like 3 years since I heard anything about Zeitgeist. I think, like, at least in depth, it's been at least that much time. And so when people ask me, like, if I was evangelizing on the street corner or whatever, like I wouldn't remember this off the top of my head. some of the stuff I do. Some that, like, I think Addis, Mithra. I forgot the last one, but there's three that come up.
It's almost like we need like a database, maybe called the Christian Apologetics and Research Ministry.
Well,
that'd be really handy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like kind of like a quick thing that you're like, hey, I have my evangelizing and I have my iPad, and so if someone brings this up, I can just flip it open. I know right where to go and say, hey, this is here. This
becomes, what do you include, right? So let's look at this. You have you have some basic things. There's about 10 to 15 questions you're always going to get asked and challenged on. You know, did man write the Bible? Did did God really exist? And you know, some basic things.
Problem of evil.
Yeah, and you're going to come up with these all the time. Mark Spence, a friend of mine, has a cheat sheet.
Yeah.
He has them. He makes them available to folks if they email him. And what he does is it's just things he pastes in the cover of his Bible. And so when people ask him, he just flips those. Now, things like Zeitgeist isn't going to come up that often. Bart Ehrman, it's not going to come up that often. And so it becomes one where you almost have to do what they're doing. Just Google it. Just Google the answer, you know. And it's a thing where that's why I wanted to put some of the links in there into the video so that people can go and look this stuff up. But you can't get a one-stop shop for everything. But it's partially the reason. And seriously, you're joking about going to Carm, but that's why Matt.
Oh no, I wasn't. I mean, I think it's funny though.
But he had it as a simple like Google like search before.
Yeah.
Because he wanted it to be somewhere you just go in and type something in and you get the answer back.
Okay.
It's handy. I love it. I love Carm.
Yeah.
And keep something
I'm not
in
just
mind.
shamelessly plugging it. I just
don't want anyone to, I would hate to be on record as saying that I like Carm or Matt Slick. I just don't want to be on record.
No, I'm saying that I do. I wasn't implying that you said that at all.
When they edit, we'll
That's
edit.
right.
I wouldn't want Matt to hear that and think that, because then when we start ripping on him, it doesn't work as well.
Exactly. I mean, you basically said that he was trying to do it and he didn't succeed. So,
and one thing I want to mention here really quickly is even if you have all these links and provide the resources to actually be able to back things up, keep in mind that just as we were talking before, that there are Christians who are afraid to go out and look at Zeitgeist or whatever the case, whatever. Well, again,
I understand. Yeah.
Even though it's funny, there are people out there who have that spirit of timidity. Keep in mind that there are also going to be people on the other side who are going to go, well, I don't want to look at those resources. They may not even look at them because they're afraid that there will be answers, and they'll be like, wait, but I feel comfortable being able to reject, but I want to reject. So I don't want to look into that because then I might not be able to reject it anymore.
Well, that's
so easily.
That's partially why maybe I wanted to do what I did. I mean, really, I wanted to do what we did tonight because when looking at this, it literally is such a joke, what they're passing off as scholarship. And there's nothing any Christian should be worried about it. I mean, it's something that when you look through this, I mean, just you only need two basic things to debunk this entire argument that he makes. And that's the equivocation of sun and December 25th. I mean, that's it. Just those 2 points.
Right.
And done.
Right.
So if that can rattle your faith, then maybe
Also,
you need to spend more time.
Andrew, I think you should, for the sake of conclusion, reshare my PowerPoint and go right to the last slide. Because the last two slides actually, because that really is the crux of how to defeat this ridiculous, conspiracy theory.
The concluding thoughts.
Yeah, the last two slides. I emphasize.
As you do now, I want to go ahead and let you guys know that I on the YouTube page of this particular video, I put in Han's link along with Tyler's link on the description. So anyone who's watching this video can click on those links and read up on the resources here.
So you want the Han? You want the one on resources or the concluding thoughts?
Yeah, the one highlighted in red, researchers use the academic journals, and then concluding thoughts insist on documentation that comes from primary sources in their original context. Understand, like the hard sciences, scholarship in the humanities has actually become a lot more accurate lately than back in the 19th century. And then a little bit of tongue-in-cheek, when it comes to Jesus mythicism, there's really nothing new under the sun.
I like it. Nice.
That's funny. Yeah, I mean, this is as usual, Han. You give a lot of detail in your stuff. So
Yeah, this is really good. Excellent.
Yeah, the Osiris Isis phalanx. I mean, I know I was giving the talk in a church, but I just had to be, crude for the sake of making a point by putting the hieroglyph of the falcon. And interestingly, in the hieroglyph, you can actually see someone has chiseled out a hole where the phalanx is, and the theory goes is that when Christians were in the region, that's what they did.
Right.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty gross.
Yeah. But that's the thing. Osiris, he's actually, when he resurrects, he doesn't resurrect. He suddenly awakens in the underworld, and he becomes Lord of the Dead, and that's why you have his he's colored in green, is to emphasize the fact that he's dead but yet alive. And
so he's a zombie. He's an actual zombie, kind of.
What?
He's kind of like a zombie.
Yeah, he's kind of like the rich man, the rich man in Limbo. He's conscious, he's awake, and yeah, the 14 pieces he's cut up into. The reason why the penis didn't survive is because a fish ate the penis. I mean, if you think about it, these stories are just so ridiculous. You mean to say that the apostles made up this grand theological idea of, the beautiful story of the gospel and what Christ has done for us and so on, that they've taken what's truly beautiful in the New Testament from these stories. It's so ridiculous. It's laughable, really.
Oh, so you're saying that, Mary didn't go out and find some penis in a fish that had been eaten, and that's how she.
No, well, it's not that like magically, through Thoth, do a magic ritual, and then literally a golden penis appears out of nowhere, and then she copulates on that golden penis, and I mean, I get triggered when I hear Jesus mythicists using
triggered. PG-13 episode here. Okay.
Well, okay. Hey. The word penis is a medical term. It's like the actual name for a body part. It's like saying foot.
Hey, meow. Don't be a Richard.
Okay, I won't be a Richard.
Is there a lead-in?
So does anybody know where the mastoid process is? It's behind your ear. It's the bone behind your ear. Sorry, I have anatomy on the mind.
Oh my gosh.
Oh man. Who are these people?
Anyway, so where were we? I think I got snapped.
Why did you guys choose this topic? What prompted you to do this?
Andrew did. I don't know. You'd have to ask him. Matt was out. We decided to do the Zeitgeist.
I believe.
I think Andrew said. Oh, go ahead, Nias.
Oh, you're probably just about to say the same thing I did, where I believe he wanted to cover it because he's heard of people who are either afraid to watch the film, who are Christian, or who had watched it and they claimed to be Christian before and now say that they aren't as a result of watching it. So he wanted to address just like some of the the foolishness that's found in it that is so easily shown to be foolish.
That's the
Right.
thing.
I think he ran into it. I think he ran into it on the street recently too.
Yeah.
If you're that shaken by your faith and you don't even look into the claims, that's kind of sad, actually. If you're not willing to look into the claims and it's shaking your faith.
Exactly. Some of these claims are just like, go read your Bible.
I mean, read your Bible, Google what they're claiming, and
right. But I mean, like the whole Joseph thing. Joseph had 12 brothers. That's easy to fact check. Yeah. It's just I'm listening as I'm listening to these claims from the movie. I'm just like, if you know anything about Bible 101, these are just ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, I pointed that out in the last the last show. That I just did some basic Googling. That's all I did. I just did some little digging around, and I just found out that this is all bogus.
Well,
complete bogus stuff.
You know what I thought too? I just, for some reason, evangelism and this topic kind of meshed together in my mind, and I came up with something just dawned on me because this topic about a year ago, I was watching some of James White's material on this, and Dr. White, and what just came to mind is that a lot of people haven't spent the time to learn how to actually think rationally, recognize logical fallacies, recognize things like the original language of the New Testament and the Old Testament. Both of them are not English, and let alone don't use our same vernacular. But putting those together, I can't imagine going not having that and then not having that information, going out to share the gospel, and then people tell me, well, I left the faith because I watched Zeitgeist, and then it's like, oh well, I guess you lost your salvation. You were a Christian, but you lost your salvation because of something that was false, false deception. And it's just like, it took me back to, for some reason, and this is really somewhat convoluted, but it took me back to John 6. And if you can imagine just being a synergist and you read John 6 and you're like, oh, John 6:37, all that the Father gives to me, some of them will lose their salvation after watching Zeitgeist.
I don't know who you're alluding to. I do not know who you're alluding to, but I know it's funny.
Nobody specifically. It was just like, I can't imagine, like if my parents heard something like that, something like this, and someone saying, well, I was a Christian and I stopped being a Christian when I watched Zeitgeist, they'd be like, oh man, like you just gotta have faith, and you gotta like work the faith up. It's like it's just, it's kind of just so backwards, and I don't know. I can't imagine not being not having access or taking advantage of the access to the resources that the Lord has given to the church to defend His truth. Like I can't even imagine that. Like it's so sad, but I don't know. It's just really.
Well, I think you brought something up. I wanted to bring this up earlier. Something that I think James White either tweeted out or put on Facebook just in the last few weeks, was something along the lines of, the insanity that we're seeing all around us is because they don't teach critical thinking in school.
Right.
You don't learn. Kids aren't learning logic. I took a basic logic course my freshman year of college. We're not learning how to form rational thoughts in high school and college, and that's affecting our culture. There should be no reason why Zeitgeist took off, because it's logically incoherent.
Right. Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's a shallow world out there, and it's not just the unbelievers; it's the believers too, and that's why they're affected by these kind of shallow arguments. It affects them because that's all it needs to overcome them. A little wave to overcome them.
Right. Yeah.
Kind of off topic, but I just noticed that our numbers right now, we have only 16 viewers. Usually we have like maybe 30 on average. So I'm wondering, because of the embarrassment of this movie, and so they don't even want to even sit there and watch.
I think we can blame Andrew.
Yeah, that too.
Wow.
Yeah.
Matt, without Matt being at least on the prior show,
no, well, I would imagine his
hate group hadn't followed.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're missing them.
John, did you want to bring up the depravity of the week?
Oh, the depravity of the week.
I think you posted it yesterday in the group.
Yeah. Let me take a look here. There's a couple of them that actually came by, but let me take a look. Council Google Plus.
That's not my reporting on my kids, is it?
No, not at all.
No, it's on my kids.
Oh, so you're talking about the post about
the dog ownership?
Yeah. Yes. Let me go ahead and get that in full screen. 1 second.
Aris, I want to get your take on this.
Do that.
And CK's off to do his laundry.
Yeah, no kidding.
All right.
So this was a post that I came across. Basically, it looked like a Craigslist thing. Yeah, okay. Craigslist. I think it's on Craigslist. Yeah. So, anyways, it's titled "White Man Need to Fulfill Supremacy: Dog Ownership." And so it says, "See all the white folk walking their precious dogs for all to see. They even talk to them, a replacement for their own slave owner inner desire. They can't own a Negro, so now they replace that urge with a pet, usually a dog. Most will play the white guilt game, but really, the dog is their new Negro. A lot of them train the kids to walk and own the dog too, just to perpetuate the need. Racist to the bone. No change after all these years." I'm convinced.
So
I'm
was
a
this
racist.
on Craigslist?
I believe so. Must have been.
You guys found my post, huh?
Yeah, why didn't you reply, Maurice? I tried to.
I mean, they have to be trolling, right?
Who knows? Yeah, it could have been a troll. Who knows? But my goodness, I just shook my head after that. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
What do they say about African Americans who own pets?
Well, it's okay then, because only white people can be racist.
That's true. Tyler brought that up a long time ago.
Yeah.
Right. Well, actually, Seiko Woods and another pastor are having a debate on Wednesday on that very topic. Since you brought it up, and I think it'll be an interesting debate.
What is the debate on? I mean, exactly.
The debate. One of the premises is can black people be racist? And
who's taking the affirmative and the negative?
Seiko is taking the affirmative that black people can be racist, and I can't remember whose debate opponent is. I can go look up on Facebook real quick. But he did a Facebook Live the other day and just obliterated the guy.
Yeah.
Give me a second.
Where's Bonson when you need him? He'll set us straight on all these race relations.
I don't know if we want it.
I don't see how someone can defend that only white people can be racist.
It's based on the premise that racism is defined as
you can't see it if you're not white. That's why.
Well, no, it's based on the premise that the only time you can be racist is if you have power.
Well, then I can't be racist, right?
Well, but since in our culture, black people are systemically oppressed, then they can't be racist. They can be prejudiced, they can't be racist.
What about take like the city of Baltimore, where it's predominantly black?
Doesn't matter.
I think the argument would still be that it's in the United States.
CK, I'm sorry for oppressing you, bro. I'm not sorry about oppressing you, Aris. Sorry.
Damon Richardson is his name.
Marcus is not in the U.S., so I can't feel one way or another about oppressing him.
Hey.
So yeah. Anyway, it's going to happen at 9 Eastern on Wednesday night. And they'll post it.
It looks to be. That'd be good.
Yeah, they're going to do it on radio.
Real radio?
I think it's real radio.
What is real?
I know, what is that?
Line of Fire?
So it should be an interesting one. But Seiko has some interesting takes on the whole racism thing that we're seeing right now. So
this is the other
get a chance.
Depravity here.
Oh yeah, I saw that. That was hilarious.
The eclipse is coming. Everyone's freaking out about it, and it's funny because I was around the last eclipse that we had back in the 1979. I was in the second grade. I remember there
was one in the 90s.
Was there one? Okay, I don't remember. Well, it must not have come across Washington State or Oregon. But anyway, so I remember that, and it was like not a big deal. I mean, we were just like, we looked out the window, it got dark for a little bit, came light, that was it. I
remember like we went out, like the eclipse happened in the 90s here in Iowa. I mean, FEMA Region 7. Crap, somebody scrubbed that.
Oh, no one knows. I'll edit that out.
I know, right? We'll edit it out. But, we went outside and I think it was recess, and we used index cards with one had a hole poked in it, and we watched the eclipse that way. It wasn't a big deal.
Right.
And now it's the end of the world?
It's the end of the world. Yeah, everyone's like all freaking out. I don't know if you saw the headline on Charisma News that
oh jeez,
10 gram lots actually made some kind of deal about, made some kind of connection with the eclipse, with the end times of America or something. It's like ridiculous. Yeah. I was like, oh, and
yeah. Well, and then it's hilarious because next year there's going to be another one, I think. or in a
Oh, is there
couple
another
years.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if it's next. It's in a couple of years or whatever, but it's going to cross the U.S. from north to south. And so, like, there's this one town in Kentucky that's going to see it both times. And so it's like this X across America, and people are making a big deal about that too.
Ridiculous. It's just it's a natural phenomenon. It doesn't mean anything at all. It's just the Earth. I mean, it's just the moon going across between the path. Yeah, the sun and the Earth.
Wait. You mean across the dome, right?
Oh, whoops. Shh. Yeah. Darn. Forgot about that too. It's a flat Earth.
It's a pizza.
So
who's crazier, Jesus mythicists or flat earthers? Come on.
yeah.
What Tyler?
Aren't they the same? Aren't they the same people?
Yeah, Tyler.
Say,
flat
just
earthers
put them in
or Jesus mythicists.
Just put them in a cage match.
Who's
and
crazier?
just see who wins.
The mythicist.
Yeah, Tyler says the mythicist.
Yeah. 911. What's
So
your
you're saying that
emergency?
there's actually is Tyler saying that there's actual evidence for a flat Earth?
There's a bigger chance of a flat Earth being real.
There's a bigger chance for a flat Earth than there's Jesus.
Flat earthers are just out of mythicists are just out of their mind.
Hold on, I got proof right now. Hold on. Give me a second.
Screenshot that.
Let me show it right there. Here we go.
Oh, I knew it. NASA.
That's all. With the flat Earth behind.
Messed up. They let the truth out.
That was yep. They forgot to do the graphics, the CG graphics in the background.
See, the CGI in that one looks phenomenal.
Looks so real. Look at this. I'm going to zoom in just like what they do too. Yep, that's it.
If you notice,
Right.
naturally,
Wow.
obviously a shop effect.
Yeah. And then I saw.
But do we have anything else?
Can't really think of anything other than what's going on as far as our nation goes when it comes to all these tearing down statues and all that. It's getting ridiculous. So 911, what's your emergency? I saw a statue.
Yeah.
So, it's pretty bad. But I did see one that was kind of funny that I actually posted. Where was it? It was.
So while you're doing that, me and Bonson were talking to a Roman Catholic on Discord.
Oh yeah.
So apparently, unless it's something spoken ex cathedra, you can't be anathematized from the church. So you can still lose your salvation. Let's say if you believe in homosexual marriage, but you can't be cast out of the church from it. But you won't be saved, but you're still in the church. So that guy was arguing some weird things.
So they have their own little Presbyterianism right there.
Yeah, it's like they're still in the church, even though they're not saved, because it's not spoken ex cathedra from the Rome. So I mean, it's in error because it's going against church history and it's you're going to lose your salvation, but you're in the church still.
Well, here's another statue I saw that I wanted to get taken down. I found that really offensive right here. A statue of a scale. Yeah. So.
I thought it was funny. I saw an article last Friday, I think it was, and Antifa. I don't even know how to say that.
Antifa.
It's ridiculous.
Antifa. Anti-fascism or something.
Okay, so it's Antifa.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. Antifa.
Like against Misfood? Antifa?
Yeah. So anyway, I saw an article
Hey,
in
Mark,
Atlanta. In Atlanta. Well, hold on.
We
Go
don't
ahead.
speak Canadian. We don't speak Canadian.
Come on.
Right. But in Atlanta, Antifa did some protest, and they vandalized what they thought was a Confederate memorial, and it was actually a peace monument. So it was actually a monument against the Confederacy.
They don't want peace either, so I mean it doesn't matter.
Well, I just thought it was funny that they're like, oh yeah, we're going to tear down, we're going to vandalize this Confederate memorial, and it's like, no, that memorial, and there's a plaque right on the memorial.
You don't expect them to understand history, dude.
Or to be able to read a plaque at the front, you know.
Whoa, you just stayed. Stop your microaggressions, bro. Reading is for the white privileged people.
So it's just funny that it's supposedly because I keep hearing Antifa isn't they're only violent against people that need to be violent against, like Nazis.
Which is anything.
Hit a punch of Nazi.
Anyone who's against them is obviously meets the criteria.
Right. But so, and they're supposedly peaceful unless you're against them. But anyway, so they're supposedly peaceful, and this peaceful protest ended up vandalizing a peace monument. It's like, you might want to rethink what you're doing if your peace protest is out to vandalize peace monuments.
How dare you assume they can think, bro?
I know, I'm sorry.
If public school has taught them anything, it's not how to think.
That's very true.
Uh-oh. Tyler's giving us the next Zeitgeist.
Batman and Jesus.
What is this, Tyler?
Tyler is trying to just derail us from our
Tyler's feeding us
our scintillating conversation right now, which may be time to end the live.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my word! So this is supposed to be premiering.
Yeah, before we end the live, somebody else give a gospel presentation tonight.
Not everybody at once.
Who wants to give a gospel presentation? Come on.
Is it only the apostles that give those?
Ooh.
It's got to be from the KJV, right?
Yeah, no kidding. I'll do it. I'll go ahead and present it. First of all, I just want to say thank you, everybody who showed up to help out with this. Andrew Rappaport from Striving for Eternity, Tyler Vela, which gave us a few resources and some of his research that he gave. General Han Solo, a very well-known and intelligent professor and just definitely a deep researcher when it comes to the issues that deal with apologetics and Christianity and such, and everyone else from the council. I appreciate you guys all being here. The gospel is this, guys. God is good and we are not. So if that's the case, what does a good God do to people who are not? So in order for us to be reconciled before God, we have to go ahead and repent of our sins. And yes, that means I am calling you and me a sinner. We are all sinners in this fallen world. And what we need to do is to repent of our sins and put our trust in the one who actually paid the price on the cross for us. For you see, back in 2,000 years ago, Jesus Christ suffered on the cross for us. He went ahead and took on the sin of the world so that we do not have to endure the wrath of God. So, with that, we are no longer under the wrath, and that his righteousness is poured out on us, while our sins and our wrath, that the wrath that we deserve, is poured out on Christ. So therefore, we are free. We are made whole, and we are made right before God. So that is what I refer to as good news: is that we are saved by through faith, by grace, from Christ. So I appreciate everybody listening in on that, and we're gonna probably just open up the floor, and hopefully maybe get some more people in here for the off-air show, and just kind of talk and see what goes on from there. Thank you again. This is John Wilkinson over here in FEMA Region 10, and I am no longer in session. So take care, God bless, and we'll see you next week.